This is always a scary part when I first sit down at the microphone and I really haven't read through the script. I just wrote it. I've got everything outlined and ready to go. So let me just roll into it and let's see how it goes. Hey, everybody. I am Daddy Sam, and this is episode 72 of A Touch of Gay podcast that you've tuned into today, YouTube, as well as all of the podcast platforms out there. And this is my weekly sit down with you, where I share what's going on at my kitchen table, as well as the kitchen table of the LGBTQ plus fishbowl that I find myself in. That's always a mouthful. And today we're talking about Honey Davenport's got a new fundraising effort, some very cool Honey Davenport teas that you can pre-order now. We're also going to be talking about a new once-a-month PrEP pill that's in the works and setting intentions in our sexual pursuits. Our sexual ideal, as it were. But first, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're always starting out our episode every week with a piece of our daily inspirations that you can find on our social media, which is on all the major 4 food groups of social media. That is Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We don't do the X. If you know, you know. And today's daily inspiration is this: sobriety isn't about loss, it's about freedom. If you haven't followed our show for very long, what you might not know is that I am sober, I'm in recovery, and this is a theme that comes up in our show at least once every other show. And I work with a lot of people in the recovery bubble that are just getting sober. And I know a lot of people that are just getting sober. And I myself was in that place at one time where the mindset is, oh my God, I just can't believe, I can't fathom the idea of not drinking or using drugs for the rest of my life. I'm going to be losing all that fun, all of that togetherness with my friends, all the partying. I'm giving up all of that. Oh no, life is going to be a boring, I might as well just go to church and get on my knees and repent. No, nothing can be further from the truth. When we get sober, we don't just stop drinking, we get our lives back. We get a life back that maybe if we started drinking and using to excess early enough in our lives, we never even knew existed. The very simple, tangible stuff, we get our mornings back, right? We get waking up in the morning with the sun, feeling good, not feeling hungover, having energy, having the ability to use half the day that didn't used to exist when we slept in or we were sick and we just had to recover from the night before. We get our relationships back, the relationships, whether it be friends or partners where we burn bridges, or just relationships with our peers, people in our workplace that may not trust us, or that they've lost confidence in us over our using and drinking and our behaviors around that. We get our self-respect back. A lot of us who used and abused alcohol and drugs came to not really like ourselves too much. We couldn't look ourselves in the mirror and go, yeah, I love you. I respect you. And that shows up in a lot of ways in our life where we don't respect ourselves. We will do things that sort of fly in the face of self-respect. And I don't need to go down the list. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. We get our dreams back. One of the things that people who are in addiction or alcoholism tend to do is live in the addiction and alcoholism. They might have dreams about being some big thing someday, or going somewhere, doing something someday, or building a whatever someday, having something someday, having these things in their life someday. It's always someday. And that someday never comes when you are using and drinking to excess, because your life is about that. You don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the energy, you don't have the money. There's a lot of things that alcohol and drugs fills up that you think you're enjoying, that you think you're supposed to enjoy. But the fact of the matter is, you've put most of your dreams over there on the shelf and you're not really living them. You don't have the focus, the ability, or the intention. And the last thing is, our ability to be present and intentional in our own lives comes back. Once we get past all of the fog, we get past the sickness, the chemical dependency, and we start reassembling our lives through recovery, whether that's a 12-step program or a rehab or some other form of putting a spiritual program of life back together that we can live through without having to medicate, we suddenly start becoming present in our lives. Now, sometimes that is a double-edged sword, because sometimes life's hard. Sometimes we have feelings. Sometimes life's not easy, and we get to ride that. We get to feel that. But the upshot is sometimes life is beautiful. There are vibrant, colorful, spiritual, wonderful things that happen in life that when we're drunk or high, we either miss out on completely or it's dulled, the volume is turned down, and we're not getting the full aspect of that. So it's just a PSA for sobriety today. That is our inspiration. Sobriety isn't about loss, it's about freedom. Freedom from the slavery to living a life just about getting high and drunk. All right, so my weekly check-in. This is where I just sort of share what's going on with me or what's important to me this week. Relative to our show, we hit a milestone this week on our YouTube channel. We hit 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Now, to me, that's a big deal because what we do here is not a mainstream topic. It's not a mainstream collection of ideas. It's very fringe when you compare it to the rest of the world. Now, I have two other YouTube channels. One's got a little over 10,000 subscribers. The other one's got well over 100,000 subscribers. And those are about mainstream topics, automotive news, test drives, and reviews. Even in that realm, my biggest channel at 110,000 subscribers, compared to many of the people I compete with out there in that universe, is very small. There are people out there that are also automotive journalists who have over 1 million subscribers. I've just never been that rock star, that guy that commands 1 million subscribers. And I'm okay with that. I'm very happy with 110,000. And coming back to where we are here today, I am extremely overjoyed with 1,000 subscribers on YouTube for A Touch of Gay. A Touch of Gay Pod is our handle there, just like it is everywhere else. And I just want to say thank you to all of you out there that are part of that 1,000. I really appreciate your support because it means a lot to me. Our traffic on our videos and on our podcasts out there on the platforms is steadily increasing. I remember a year ago, we would do a show and it might get 50 or 60 views on YouTube. It might get 10 or 12 plays out there on the podcast universe. And now we're easily hitting 10 times that on most of our episodes. Now we're usually getting at least 500 or 600 views on most of our podcast episodes on YouTube. And we're hitting, in the dozens out there on the podcast. It's not about numbers, but there is a sense of validation when there are viewers showing up every week to watch or to listen. And I appreciate that because this is an act of love. I'm not making any money from this whatsoever. Now, it's not to say that I won't someday. Hitting this 1,000 number on YouTube, in all disclosure, is one of the lines that they have that you have to get past to be able to monetize and be able to collect revenue from advertising on YouTube. But it's not the only one. There's still some other milestones that have to be reached that we're still quite a ways away from. I did this because I've already got channels that I make money with. I've got a day job. I really wanted to be of service to our community and talk about the things that I don't hear people talking about. And that's what we do here at A Touch of Gay. And it does happen to rhyme with A Touch of Gray, which is because I'm an older guy. I'm an older daddy. Looking at the demographics that I can see, most of our audience fits into this mold because we have issues as aging gay men that are different from many people out there in the mainstream society because of our lifestyle, because of the unique medical conditions that we can deal with, and because of the relationship issues and family issues that fit into that are different from normal heteronormative society. Just a huge thank you to all of you who support our show. And if you have any comments, you're always welcome to comment on YouTube. You're always welcome to send me an email, daddysam@atouchofgay.com. That is our email. So let's talk about our first topic of the day, and that is in the health arena. There's a new once-a-month PrEP tablet that is in clinical trials. I'm going to try to say this. I work in the pharmacy industry, but I can still hardly ever say these names very well. Alimitravir, also known as MK8527, is a new investigational antiretroviral drug, ARV, that is being studied as a potential PrEP treatment. The once-a-month oral tablet is developed by Merck. There's 2 phase 3 trials going on right now to test this new drug as a once-a-month PrEP pill. PrEP has been out for a while. Truvada, Descovy, and all of the generics of Truvada. That's the daily pill. There are a number of injectables out now that can be done at much longer periods than a month. And a lot of people that are on those love those. I've not been down with sticking myself with a needle. There's people that use Ozempic and Zepbound, a lot of the GLP-1s. Those are now starting to come out with tablets because there are people out there, there's a subset of people out there that just, I don't want to do needles. So the injection doesn't appeal to me. I'm willing to take a daily pill. But if there were a monthly tablet, I'd be happy to do that because it helps adherence. It's one thing to have a daily pill where if you want it bad enough, you're going to take it. Maybe if you have an HIV infection, you're going to take that tablet every day or those tablets every day because you want to live. But when it comes to PrEP, the adherence level tends to be a little bit less because it's easy to forget because your life doesn't depend on it all the time. So a once a month tends to be something that's a little easier for some people to manage and to remember. So we'll see how that goes. It's still a little bit off in the future, but I wanted to put that out there, let you know that it's coming. Since we're talking about sex today, I want to just sort of touch on this concept of intentionality in our sexual pursuits, identity, our sexual ideal. Not everybody has to think about this. Some people are just who they are. They do what they do. They love what they do. They're a sexual animal in their own definition, and on they go. Some of us are just, we have a natural set that we find ourselves in, and it's just no big deal. But there are others of us that come from backgrounds where we had a distorted reality. I didn't come out until I was 47 years old, about almost 10 years ago. So I lived a completely different life than one of a gay man who is able and free to go do anything he wants in that realm. There are people who lived in addiction for a great long time and never got to know themselves truly. They developed their sex lives during addiction or alcoholism, and then they got sober and they're trying to figure out who the heck they are, what's right, what's wrong, what is a safe thing for them to engage in. There's other people who maybe they've been in a long-term relationship for decades, most of their life, and then they become single for whatever reason. They suddenly find themselves going, now what do I do? What's okay for me to do? What's not okay for me to do? There's another subset of people that are still traumatized by the AIDS crisis, people that are my age and a little bit older. I still meet men to this day who are frightened to fully engage sexually because they lived through the trauma of the AIDS crisis. There are people who are still afraid to take off the condom, still afraid to trust PrEP, still afraid to really do the things they want to do because they remember. And you can't fault them for that. There comes a point where whether any of these backgrounds are part of our past, that it's always healthy to look at what is our sexual ideal? How do we define what we are as a person in our pursuits? That goes to who am I in my sex? What are the boundaries that I work within? What are the principles that I employ in how I behave with other people? Where does my integrity come into this? Do I have integrity? Do I not have integrity? At what level? And I'm not talking about the old heteronormative morality where one partner for life. I'm not talking about that kind of morality. What I'm talking about is how we operate with other people in the community, whether we're kind to them, respectful of them, whether we are respecting other people's boundaries. Some people have boundaries and they put those up. They have limits. They put those up. They ask us to not do this or not do that. How do we behave around that? That's really where that comes into the boundaries and integrity and the principles that we employ. What are my desires? One of the biggest things that I think that the apps out there have really brought out in people is that people don't always ask for what they want. And it's a hard lesson to learn is if you just put on your profiles on the apps what you think everybody wants so that you can get some, so that you can get more, you're going to find yourself pretty dissatisfied at some point because everything that comes at you isn't necessarily going to be what you want. If you want to only have sex with sober people, put sober in your profile. If you want a top, put that in your profile. If you want a bottom, put that in your profile. If you leave ambiguous statements and you're not defining what it is that you want to offer, you're going to get people that are going to just look at you and determine what you are, what you're going to offer them, and that's what they're going to expect from you. And that's no fun. When you go to the trouble of meeting up with somebody and you get into it, you prepare, you plan, and then you get together and it's just not a match because you didn't communicate what it is that you're looking for. This is not a topic. I could do multiple podcasts on each one of these topics. But in this context today, I'm just simply saying, be honest about what you want. Be honest with yourself about what you want, what you desire the most before you go out looking for sex. Make sure to let people know what you want. Don't be ashamed of what you want. If you want to be a sub-bottom, put that on your profile. Tell people. If they say, what are you into? That happens a lot at bathhouses and sex clubs. What do you want to do? What are you looking for? This guy may be really hot, and your first answer might be whatever you want. I've done that. I've done that. But what I've come to understand in my own self is that I tend to be more satisfied at the end of a long day's experience if I set up parameters and I communicate what it is that I'm looking for. I might get people go, oh no, sorry, not looking for that. I might get turned down a lot because of the profile I have on the apps that is pretty specific about who I am and what I'm looking for. There are a lot of people that probably don't hit me up, and I'm okay with that. I'm just to a point in my life where I don't have to have every single ice cream truck that goes down the street just because it's making noise and it looks good. Another question that we ought to be asking ourselves is, what am I offering the partners that I interact with? I just got done talking about, what do I want? What do I want to get from somebody? What do I want to get from this situation? But we have to also take an inventory of what we're offering other people. Because if we can't think about, if we don't have an idea, if we can't write a list of 3 or 4 things that are part of the experience somebody else is going to get, we're not only not thinking about it, but we're probably not giving a very good experience to people. And if you want repeat customers, if you want FWBs, if you want that guy that you met and had a good time with to see you across the bar and come over and go, hey, let's do that again, give some thought about, what am I offering to the other person? Am I asking them what they want? Am I asking them what would please them? And that's not to say that I have to be subservient to every person that comes my way and I'm a slave to their desires. It does make us a better sexual partner if we're taking them into consideration, putting some effort into pleasing them in a way they want to be pleased if they're doing the same thing with us. And when you're somebody like me, I consider myself generally versatile, and that means that I can go either way on the dance floor. That's a double-edged sword, because sometimes whether I lead or follow depends on the chemistry. It depends on whether that person, what their mood in, what mood I am in. There's a lot of variables there. It kind of sucks to be versatile sometimes. I admire the guys out there who are, I am submissive, I'm dominant, that's that. And of course, it makes it easier for me to figure them out and see where I'm going with them. The last thing here that I have on this sexual intention, sexual ideal is, be true to yourself. That comes down to, in your heart of hearts, when you're by yourself, maybe it's when you're gratifying yourself, maybe when you're looking at art films, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that turns you on the most? When you fantasize about being with somebody, where are you at in that? What I'll bet you is that it's almost always the same thing. You're always doing the same things. It's with the same type of person, playing the same role. Not always, but for most of us, we have a core thing that we really identify with that really defines who we are in our sex. The best thing that we can do for ourselves is be true to that. Don't try to be somebody else just to please somebody that you think is hot. Have some boundaries around yourself. Be who you are, be yourself. And it takes a lot of guts to do that, because sometimes you have to walk away from situations. You have to pass on people that you might otherwise like. It's not fun to pretend to be in a sexual engagement with somebody and playing a role that you don't really enjoy. And chances are they're probably not going to get everything out of it either. I really could do multiple podcast topics on this, but it was something that I just felt, it's been on my radar screen this week, this topic, and more to come about this. I'll share more in the future about something that's in the works. So, leather news. Honey Davenport has been big in the leather scene here in the last year. Why? Well, Honey Davenport won International Mr. Leather, if you hadn't heard. And did you also know that he was once a drag queen? Oh my gosh, clutch your pearls. I say that tongue in cheek because I love Honey. I think he is really representing the community well. And now that he has the title, he is embarking on a year's worth of travel and representation. He's already well on his way to going here and there and earning his title, basically. He's going out there and representing and doing the work. That takes money. And he has just launched a new fundraising effort that I think everybody ought to check out, especially if you're a fan. And that is a new line of t-shirts that it's facilitated by Rough Trade Gear, which is a store down in Southern California and LA, also in Palm Springs. And you can pre-order online right now a new collection of Honey Davenport t-shirts and tank tops. These are very nicely done. The artist's work is just beautiful to look at. I have already ordered one for my husband and I. It's a pre-order right now. They're $35. Now, yes, that's a lot of money for a t-shirt or a tank top, but I will tell you that if you go to the store and you buy any one of Rough Trade's shirts, their t-shirts are $35 and $40. I have plenty of them. I know this. So 35 is actually a little bit of a discount. And when I pre-ordered, shipping was free. The best part about it is proceeds from these t-shirts not only go to help pay for Honey Davenport's travel for this year, but it also goes to pay for part of the renovation that they're doing at the Leather Archives Museum in Chicago. I think this is a good cause. If you're out there looking to buy apparel anyway, if you're a Honey Davenport fan, I love the artwork. The website link is down in the show notes. It's on the screen right there if you're watching us on YouTube. So, speaking of leather, we have an event that I want to talk about coming up in November. Now, this one's in Florida. It is Florida Leather Week 2026, November 8th through the 16th. Now, I know a lot of you out there going, Florida, fuck Florida. Florida sucks because of all the political stuff and everything else they're doing. But we're talking about Wilton Manors here, the gayborhood, the big gayborhood in Florida, one of them. We have a big community down there. It is the Palm Springs of the Southeast. A lot of daddies, a lot of leathermen, and it is a big blue dot in a red sea. They need our support, and they put on this event, and it's a full week of leather, 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 leather. The big landmark event, of course, of the week is the Mr. Eagle Wilton Manors 2027 Leather Contest. Jafar, of course, was our title holder from last year, and he competed at IML. So he's going to be passing the sash, and somebody else will be competing this November for that title. And they will have a chance to go on to International Mr. Leather next year. There's also a lot of parties and socials all week long. There's the Leather Pride Walk, the flag raising ceremony. There is a chili cook-off. There's a kinky art exhibit called Unveiled Visions. There's classes and workshops. This is a big week down in Wilton Manors. And so if you live close by and you want to support the community down in Florida, a lot of people bash on Florida right now and they don't want to travel there because of the politics of the state. And I get that. I'm right there with you for the most part. But this is our community that is right in the middle of it all. They are surviving in that sea of discontent, for lack of a better way of putting it. So check it out, floridaleatherweek.com. That's down in the show notes and on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, floridaleatherweek.com. And you can get your tickets now, starting right now. And so the last thing is a new feature we just launched recently called Catch of the Week. And I featured an artist photographer last week because there were pictures of me on their page. And this week, I happened to come across Alfredo Roagui. He is a beautiful artist from Mexico. He's done a lot of beautiful artwork. He's not AI. And for the last several years, I've gotten his annual calendar. Last year, I did not get to get his calendar because of the U.S. tariff situation. He could not ship to the United States for a period of time. In fact, I had ordered the calendar, and that order never got to materialize. And I was very sad because it was a tradition around our house that we have the Roagui calendar on our wall for several years. And he's a beautiful artist. He's handsome. He's cute, but he's enormously talented. And he's got a type. He's got a style. He loves gingers. He loves bears. He loves mermen. He's a Disney gay. And he rolls all of that into his artwork. And I just saw posted on his Instagram this week that he is almost done putting the final touches on his 2027 calendar, and we will be able to get it again in the United States. And I'm so excited. It honestly almost brought a tear to my eye, but he is an artist that we have lots of art here in our home. He has a nice style to it. It's playful, it's cute, it's totally gay. And it's not just the calendars. If you go to his Instagram and you can follow the link to get to his Shopify store, he has got a lot of different types of pieces of art that you can order. He's got prints. In some cases, he's got shirts. He's got stickers, a lot of little things. And he's just got a wide array of different types of pieces that he offers. He's got a colorful palette, let's say. So Alfredo Roagui, his Instagram is in the show notes. It's on the screen. Check him out. I just want to support him because he probably lost a lot of money last year when he couldn't ship to the United States, because while we aren't his only market, I think the United States was probably a pretty big market for his work, his printed work. Support him, buy some stuff from him, no matter where you are in the world. Yeah, catch of the week. Alfredo, you're beautiful, baby. I love you. So that is it for our episode today. Our website is atouchofgay.com. You can catch us every week. Our episodes drop on Sunday on all of the podcast platforms, and sometimes on Friday and Saturday on YouTube a little bit early. So you can always sort of get the early take on our YouTube channel, which is why I'm always pushing it so much. I'm so happy that we're finally getting quite a few subscribers. So thank you again for that. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can see what I'm wearing. And you've seen this before if you watch and tune in pretty regularly. This is my Black Berlin bar vest that I actually made this one along with the armbands that match. They are black and blue because I also have a blue vest. And so when I made the armbands, I can wear them with either the blue or the black vest. Utility. So there it is, my friends. I love you so much. Thank you for supporting our show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next week, you can see our latest episode right there to my left, your right. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also right below that, hit the button and subscribe to our channel. Please do subscribe, and we'll tell you when the 2,000 mark gets hit. And if you're on the podcast platforms, please do subscribe there and leave us a kind review. Either way, stay tuned.